Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday and it is 4 o'clock ET, and I am Hank Phillippi Ryan here with A Mighty Mystery on A Mighty Blaze, and I welcome all of you here today. Today, I have the sheer joy of interviewing one of my favorite authors of all time, Lisa Jewell, whose new book, The Night She Disappeared, is now out in the United States, and we are so thrilled about this. This will have you racing through the pages. I have to say, I stayed up way too late reading this book, and that is what a good book is all about. And of course, we are going to have a giveaway, Lisa, of your wonderful.
Yay.
So one lucky commenter in the comments, someone just say, I love you, Lisa, or I love this book, or I can't wait to read this book, or anything that you've loved about Lisa and her books in the past over all these years that she's been writing terrific novels like The Night She Disappeared. We will be giving away a hardcover of this book just for you. So do leave a comment and we will choose a winner by the end of the broadcast today. Lisa, welcome. I am in Boston where it is a beautiful fall end of summer day. Where are you?
Well, I'm in London, which has been very much a beginning of the autumn day. It's been raining all day long. It's been a classic London miserable day. So I can only dream of fall in Boston right now.
Well, I wish you were here next time in person. Next time you launch a book, we can only hope that we'll be
Yes.
able to be together in person. Do you love writing on a rainy days? Is that a good atmosphere?
It's really bad weather is very, very conducive to writing. When the weather's nice, you're just looking out the window thinking all the things I could be doing right now, particularly in the UK where the good weather is such a sort of rare event. So yeah, when the weather is like this, you can absolutely just focus on writing and yeah, not the outdoors.
I wonder whether that's why there are so many wonderful writers in the UK because the weather
Yeah.
is so often so good.
There's nothing else to do. May as well sit indoors and write a book.
I see Anissa, who I know is one of your big fans and one of the big fans of A Mighty Blaze as well. Welcome. And Gail and Catherine Hollum is here in Bosania, and Ann Kortzberg Baird is here, and Georgina Cross, author, is here. Diane is here. Ooh, we love this, you all. You all know, let me just briefly say that A Mighty Blaze was started during the pandemic by the fabulous powerhouse team of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt to keep us all together during the pandemic, keep us reading and keep us talking and keep us discovering new books. Sadly, the pandemic has gone on longer than we had hoped, and but the Mighty Blaze is blazing away, and we are so pleased to have so many people. Look at the comments coming in today, to have so many people here today to hear the fabulous Lisa Jewell talk about The Night She Disappeared. And I'm going to take 10 more seconds, Lisa, before I let you talk, for goodness sake, to formally introduce you. Lisa Jewell is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of 19 novels, including The Family Upstairs, and Then She Was Gone. That's the title of it, And Then She Was Gone. And now The Night She Disappeared. Her books have sold more than 5 million copies internationally, and her work has been translated into at least 28 languages. I say at least because they're probably doing more right now that you don't even know of. And you can find her on Twitter at Lisa Jewell UK, and Instagram at Lisa Jewell UK, and Facebook at Lisa Jewell Official. And we thank Atria Books for bringing you here today, Lisa. So let's talk about The Night She Disappeared. I will tell you that I pride myself in being able to figure out what's going to happen in a book. And I can't help myself from trying to. I know I should. This was riveting. Figuring this out was futile. And I just let myself have the joy of reading it. So I'll give you one line about it and you finish the rest of the synopsis because I want you to be comfortable with what we say. So
okay.
Two of the book's main characters are Zach and Tallulah, teenage parents, not married, who live with Tallulah's mother and their son. One night, Zach and Tallulah leave baby Nick at home for a night at the pub, and Now it's your turn.
And when they're at the pub, they bump into some of the posh kids from the boarding school in the village where they live, and they get invited to a pool party at this unbelievable mansion out in the countryside. And Tallulah messages her mum and says, "Is it all right if we stay out a bit later?" And her mum says, "Of course you can." And the next morning, Zach and Tallulah have not come home. The action picks up a year later when a detective novelist moves into a cottage in the grounds of the boarding school. And on her first day, while she's exploring the grounds, she finds a sign nailed to a fence with the words "dig here" scrawled on it and an arrow pointing to the ground. And our detective novelist digs and finds something that's a big clue to the mysterious disappearance of Zach and Tallulah.
And I love the multiple meanings of dig here. I mean, she is a mystery novelist, so of course she's going to dig into the story.
Yes.
She's also digging into the earth to find something.
Yes.
What was and I want to go into every single bit of that, but let me ask you, what was the thing that started the dominoes of this story tipping over? What was the thing that started it for you?
It actually wasn't that far removed from the dig here sign. I was doing a book event and I was sitting next to another novelist, and she was talking about her first novel, and she told the audience that it was set in a boarding school. And as she said the words boarding school, I thought, oh, I really would love to write a book set in a boarding school. That would be the most incredible location to set a murder mystery. And I had a boarding school in mind. It was a boarding school I'd seen in passing 6 years earlier, which is how novelists' minds work. They can see something 6 years ago and then bring it to the forefront and shove it in a book 6 years later. So I already had the boarding school in the village in mind. And just out of nowhere, I just envisaged this sign with "dig here" written on it. So that was very much the second domino in the domino cascade.
You say it's really intriguing because you say, I just envisaged this sign that says "dig here," and that is a writer brain at work. So Grafton, used to call that the magic, that some spark would emerge. And you said envisaged. I mean, you didn't say I thought of it. You pictured it.
Oh, I pictured it. Absolutely. Yes. There was a picture in my mind of a cardboard cutout sign with the words "dig here" scrawled on it. And I knew that was going to be the starting point for the novel, and everything was going to bounce off that.
It's interesting because when I saw that sign in the book, it reminded me of Alice in Wonderland when she sees the caterpillar and it says "eat this" or drink me or "eat me" or whatever it says, and the sign from a mysterious source telling someone who's innocent to do something that you might think is not a good idea. I sat there for a moment and thought, if I saw a sign that said "dig here," would I do that? I'm an investigative reporter and I'm a writer, so I might. How did you get Sophie, the character that we're talking about, actually to dig?
Well, Sophie doesn't dig immediately. Sophie hears conversations in the village about this missing teenage couple, and she hears that there's an abandoned mansion on the other side of the woods. And being a novelist and being nosy and being at something of a loose end, she goes to explore this abandoned mansion, which I personally would if I had nothing better to do. And so she goes for a long walk through the woods and she finds this abandoned mansion. And that is when she starts feeling the urge to dig deeper into this mystery. And that is when she suddenly thinks, wonder if that sign outside my cottage at the other side of the woods has got anything to do with the couple that went missing from this mansion a year ago. So then she gets a trowel and she heads back and starts digging. And personally, I would, yes, I would do that, very much so.
and as a writer, you had to do that because did you know, and we won't tell, but did you know what would be there when she dug?
No. So when I envisaged the sign and I knew that I was going to be writing a murder mystery set in a boarding school, my natural assumption had been that whatever was buried under the soil would be some sort of human remains or a shred of clothing belonging to, there would be something with some sort of DNA that would relate back to this missing couple. But when I actually got to writing the scene where Sophie digs, I suddenly thought that's too much too soon. I don't want to give, because I don't know what I'm doing and I don't have a plan, and I didn't know where Zach and Tallulah had gone or what had happened at the pool party. I thought, let's keep it vaguer than that. So I put something not quite so specific in the hole that sort of doesn't fast forward the investigation too quickly. Because DNA, you'd suddenly be, you'd be quids in and you'd be solving the crimes. It had to be something that opened up the mystery without solving it. So yeah, that's how I decided what I was going to bury in that hole.
I love it. And the other thing about Dig Me was that had to be new, because that wouldn't have been there for the duration of time that Zach and
Yes.
Tallulah were gone. So someone recently had put it there. Oh, Lisa,
Yes.
it is absolutely great.
Mhm.
Love Sophie, one of the main characters, is newly moved to this small town with her boyfriend, who gets a job teaching at this school. And we love Sophie. We love her instantly. And we love her even more when she is told not to go through the woods. I mean, so fairy tale, not to go through the woods to the dark mansion on the other side. But she gets her water bottle, and she gets her compass, and she gets her special shoes, and she gets her light, and she goes prepared. What was it like for you to be Sophie stepping into that forest?
Well, yes, I wouldn't be quite so prepared. I would probably do it, but I wouldn't have taken any of the precautions that she took. So she was very much sort of, yes, playing things much more safely than I would. But no, it was exciting for me because I'm not a planner, that I didn't know. I kind of hadn't worked out what she was going to find when she got there. And I wasn't sure if she was going to get there and find another clue. And so I was excited, and because I'd already written the mansion in the present day, in the past tense, when it was all glittery and shiny and people were living there and having pool parties, and so this was the first time that I was going to see it as a writer, dilapidated and abandoned and sad. So yeah, so I was excited for Sophie to set off through the woods and see what was on the other side.
Well, that takes us right to the mansion, which is such a gorgeously wrought place in your description, both before and after. So tell us a little bit about that place. Is that based on someplace real? How did you describe that so gorgeously?
Well, thank you. I'm obsessed with houses. I'm absolutely obsessed with houses. Everywhere I go, I'm peering out of car windows. When I walk the dog, I'm just constantly looking down and looking up, and I just love houses. So anytime I get a chance to describe a house, I sort of go for it. And with this one, all I knew was that it had a pool, and that the girl who lived there, so Tallulah is invited back to this house by this girl called Scarlet, and she's very wealthy. So I knew we were going to be talking about a big house. But it wasn't until I sent Kim, so Kim is Tallulah's mother and the grandmother of Noah, the baby, who is very worried about Tallulah not having come back from the pool party. And it wasn't until I sent Kim up the mile-long driveway, pushing the baby in the buggy, that I realised what this house actually was. So when Kim sees it for the first time, I've seen it for the first time, and it's kind of, yeah, it's like a sort of Tim Burton-esque fantasy house. It's, it was built originally in the 1600s, and it's had additions put on it every century since, and Scarlet's family have put this huge architectural glass box on the back, so it's got a bit of everything in it. And I just really went for it, and I even had Kim's son reading from a Wikipedia entry for this fictional house as they're walking up the driveway towards it, because I was so taken with it that I wanted to know more about it, and I wanted to know who'd lived there over the centuries. So yeah, the whole thing just grew layers and layers and layers and became this absolutely extraordinary place.
I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. This is probably someone trying to sell me a medic alert or something like that. So forgive me.
Wish you a happy publication day,
Oh,
maybe.
I'm sure that's what it is. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. But the house, the thing I thought was one of the many things I thought was so brilliant about the house was how people kept saying it shouldn't work, but it does. It should be grotesque and gaudy, but it's gorgeous. And this sort of juxtaposition of light and dark and good and bad and almost class, of rich and poor, of village and gorgeous house. You really juggle those two sides of the story so beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of any English village, is that English villages always had the landed gentry, or the, you know, the people in the manor house, and then they needed the people to look after them. So they needed the people. So there's always the sort of the poor, the working class people living in the same village as the rich people, and so that still exists today. Obviously, you've still got the tiny houses in the same locale. So and that was something I really, I mean, I don't do much deliberately when I'm writing, but that was something I knew I was going to make work for me in the novel. From the minute I knew I was going to set a murder mystery in a boarding school, I knew that it was going to have something to do with the rich and privileged, entitled children at the boarding school coming into contact with the kids who'd been brought up in this village, in the small houses on the outskirts of the village, the kids who went to school in the village when they were small, the kids who now man the tills at the co-op in the village. And I always knew it was going to be a clash between those two different types of people living in this same very, very small place. So yeah, that was very much part of the makeup of the book.
I mean, one of the scenes that I really love, which captures the essence of those barriers, is when Kim and Noah in the stroller, and she's hot and sweaty and walks for half a mile up the long driveway because she's not knowledgeable enough to know how to open the mechanical gate that would let people in. And it's almost like this procession to find her daughter, this journey from her little part of the village up to the big castle mansion people.
Yes.
And she feels this coldness and this mystery, and that sort of something brittle and hard is going on, and she's not being told.
Yes.
There are many scenes in this book that are actually heartbreaking, and that was one of them.
Yes, she absolutely feels there's wrongness in the air. And even though what this family are telling her, Zach and Tallulah left at 1 a.m. Tallulah had too much to drink and threw up in the flower bed. And then Zach called a taxi, and then they left, and we don't know. We didn't see them. They're not saying anything that's just unbelievable. It's all absolutely legitimate explanation for what happened the night before, but she can feel it in the air. She can feel the ice in the air, and she doesn't know what it is, and her eyes pick up little details, little clues. For example, you may remember the little tattoo on Scarlet's ankle, that she doesn't quite understand what she's seen, but it's sort of it lodges in her head. So yeah, everything just makes her feel wrong-footed, and she leaves just with her head spinning, thinking, well, they're probably telling the truth, so why do I feel like everything's wrong?
Because she's a mom. And that's another one of the wonderful themes in this book, is about motherhood and about the passion that a mother feels for their child. It's one of the reasons that Kim, Tallulah's mother, is so certain that Tallulah wouldn't leave, because Noah is there, her child is there, and she would not do that. Because Kim is a good person, and we think we know Tallulah is a good person because we know how much she loves Noah, and she makes so many decisions in her life because of her son.
Yeah.
How big a theme was motherhood on even there are even bad mothers, obviously, in this book.
There's every sort of mother in this book, and I didn't realize before I started writing it how many different mother-child dynamics I was going to use in it, particularly mother-daughter dynamics, in fact. But you know, Zach and his mother have a very peculiar relationship as well. So yeah, I didn't think that that's what it was going to be about. The only thing I knew for sure was that it was going to be about teenage motherhood, because that was another thing I'd never written about it before, like boarding schools, and I just fancied, you know, mixing things up a bit by, you know, I've done missing teenage girls before, but I thought, let's make this one a mother. So that was the only relationship I knew before I started writing the book that I was going to be focusing on. So all the other relationships just sort of kind of appeared, and there is a bit of everything there. There really is there's all shades of motherhood in there. There are mothers who literally do nothing for their children, and then there's a mother who does everything for her child, but in a very, very, very bad way, without giving away any spoilers.
You said that, yes, indeed.
Yeah. And then, and then there's obviously Kim and Tallulah, who have this incredibly close and mutually respectful loving relationship with each other.
And Kim and Tallulah's relationship, Kim, the mom, only wants her daughter to be happy and
Yeah.
thinks she knows what will make her daughter happy. And she might be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And Tallulah loves her mother so much that she wants her mother to think she's happy, but she's not happy. And when you choose teenage parents as the linchpin of the story, you're choosing people who are kids, and they
Mm-hmm.
are swayed. You know, their brains aren't fully formed, and their emotions aren't fully formed, and they're risk takers, and they're impetuous. What was it like to write about a person who's 19, not 33? I know you're the queen of missing people thrillers, and we rely on it. But to write about kids who are 19, kids in boarding school, that's a different mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love writing teenagers. They're always my favorite characters to
Mhm.
write because, as you say, they're not fully formed. They do take more risks. I genuinely feel like a teenager. You put a teenager in a novel, and they could realistically be capable of anything, of causing terror and fear by doing dangerous things that make people who are close to them worry for their safety, and by risking other people's safety. So I'm irresistibly drawn to peopling my novels with teenagers, and I do love writing from their perspective as well. But the interesting thing about Zach and Tallulah is they're 18/19 through the course of the novel, and they are obviously very young to be parents, but they're both trying so hard to be responsible and so hard to make decisions about their future. And in the case of Zach, his approach to being a partner and a father is kind of warped because he's so young and he's got no idea really what a father or a partner should be like. So he goes off. I don't know if this is spoiler territory, but so Zach is quite an interesting character.
We'll leave it at that. We'll just
Yes.
But I do think that one of the things about your characters, and we should talk about Scarlet a bit too, is when you're that age, you're so impressionable and so malleable, and we all have crushes on various people, and we all want to be like someone else, and in their gorgeous, mysterious world, and we don't know exactly who we are or who we want to be. So we are misled, we are manipulated, we are
Yeah.
gaslighted and deceived into doing what we might not ordinarily do by someone who's more powerful than we are, whether financially or emotionally or psychologically powerful than we are.
Yeah. And this is the case with Scarlet. So Scarlet is so she's the girl who lives in the amazing mansion, and she and Tallulah cross paths quite early in the novel. And I have deliberately painted Scarlet as so she's the most popular girl at their community college, and she was also the most popular girl when she was at the boarding school, and everywhere she goes men fall in love with her, women want to be with her. But I deliberately paint her as not actually particularly physically gorgeous. She's kind of rough looking. She kind of looks like she needs a shower. She dresses like a teenage boy. She's got short, sort of scrubby, bleached hair. She doesn't really wear any makeup. She's usually got a zit by her mouth. So her charisma and her power is almost inexplicable. And I think it's actually what you just said. It's not her physical beauty, but it's the allure of her whole existence that people find attractive. This amazing house, her sort of casual style, the fact that she doesn't appear to care about anything. She's a very talented artist. She has a certain air about her. She moves in a certain way. She's very loose. So it's not just, oh, she's really pretty and everybody sort of thinks she's beautiful. She's got a lot more going on than that, which sort of takes people by surprise, I think, and they don't expect to be pulled in to her power the way that they actually are.
I mean, it's interesting because when you hear about Scarlet from different points of view, and we know how Tallulah feels about Scarlet, and at one point Zach says something like, "She's actually ugly."
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, look, that's
Yeah.
at work. That's what he thinks, because
Yes.
he doesn't want her to be in his life.
He doesn't see the power. He doesn't get it. It's like one of those sort of those like dog whistles that only a dog can hear. It's just not everybody can see the allure of Scarlet, but when you do see the allure of Scarlet, it's irresistible. She's like a siren.
Exactly. And I wrote down something here that now I can't read.
Ah,
I'm taking notes while you talk, and I thought, "Ooh, that's a good idea," but now I can't possibly read this note. But it does seem like there's a lot of, also at that age and with teenagers and with that power struggle, there's so much envy and jealousy and
yes,
almost testing. Will you do this? Will you do this? And we make decisions. One of the things I think is so beautiful about your writing is that you show how people make decisions step by incremental step by incremental step. And then at some point you realize, oh my golly, I'm at some place that I never meant to
yeah.
be. And that's one of the things that's so heartbreaking about the book.
Yeah, and that is the thing that you should learn as you become an adult and you go through life, is the power of each and every tiny decision that you ever make. And someone, I think ultimately someone who has come to a certain point in their life and is happy and is successful and is content, it's because they've learned how to make good decisions. And that's exactly what it's really, really hard to do when you're at that age. And you can only learn how to make good decisions by making all those bad decisions that you make when you haven't got that skill set available to you. And there's nothing more frustrating than someone who ends up at my age who still makes bad decisions. Just like, come on, you've had like 50
Exactly.
years, you've had 50 years.
You should know better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
But the reason people still do that, and what drives the characters in your story, is passion and desire and wanting something that people aren't quite sure what is, whether it's love or security or safety or motherhood, any of those things. They
Yes.
want something and they can't figure out how to get it.
Yes, I think that, yes, that's exactly right. And it is, and I think that is also something to do with the way I write as well, because I don't have a plan, and I don't is I kind of have to make those little baby steps for my characters. I need them to go through life kind of making little decisions one after the other, so that I can get a grip on who they are. And I just, I'm writing another novel at the moment, obviously. And I just got to this point today where my character needed to make a decision. And I just knew that once he'd made this decision, the whole novel could go off in a multitude of directions. And it was just absolutely vitally important that he make the right decision. So can I tell you what I did?
Yes, please.
I went and sat in front of my television and watched 4 episodes of Cooking with Paris.
It can't hurt, right? It cannot hurt. And maybe the answer will be in the quiche or something.
Yes. So I couldn't deal with it. And that's exactly what it is. It's just every time one of my characters makes a decision, the book is sent off in another direction. So it's vitally important.
I want to go back to your book for one second, but I do need to say that I write exactly the same way. I start out with a little gem of what if this?
Yeah.
And then I don't know what's going to happen until I sit down at the computer and write the next sentence and the next paragraph and the next page. And my editor has said, "Can you not just send us an outline?" And I say, how do I know what happened until it happened?
Exactly. How do you know until you've written it? You can't possibly know.
Exactly. And I tried to make an outline once and it was a disaster. I don't know. So I think that it is a tightrope. I think that it takes a lot of confidence and a little naivete to type chapter 1 and think, okay, here we go.
Yes.
But you're telling a story, and as a reporter, I'm looking for the story when I'm working as a reporter, and when I'm writing, I'm looking for the story. And I think that that exactly what you said about decision making. When someone has to make a decision, that decision reveals their personality, reveals their character, reveals who they really are, and sets them into action. And then they have to make another decision, and then there's another obstacle and another decision. And that's what a story is. And the scene in your book one of the millions that I loved, and I figured out what I had written in my note here, was French fry. In the pub, when I guess they were having truffle fries.
Yes.
And Zach tells Tallulah to take more. And I thought only Lisa Jewell makes offering someone a truffle fry in The Night She Disappeared be scary as heck.
It was. I thank you for noticing that. Yes, that was terrifying, wasn't it? Yes.
Because that was the opening salvo of the war.
Yes, exactly. I kind of because what was going on between Zach and Tallulah was so sort of tenuous in a way, and we were coming towards the end of the book, and I just wanted to leave the reader in no doubt at that precise moment of who was good and who was bad, and that was exactly that moment. It was the truffle fries. Yeah, well spotted.
Oh, well, we all need a good truffle fry soon.
Yeah.
And before I forget, let me do remind you all, listeners, and I see so many people, Mighty Blaze is saying, truffle fries are serious business in all caps. We're giving away a copy of The Night She Disappeared, and I know that you are completely riveted by the possibility, if you haven't read this yet, of reading this enormously wonderful book. And in a minute or two, we will take some questions from you. But let me ask you finally, Lisa, the first thing you ever wrote, do you remember what that was? Were you a little kid?
Yeah, I wrote a lot of poetry when I was a little kid, as in sort of, under 10 years old. Yeah, I wrote a lot of poetry. I loved writing poems. I attempted to write a novel, which I still have somewhere. It's very cute, but I attempted to write a novel. It was actually a mystery set in India, weirdly. Oh. But I got completely distracted by doing the illustrations. And then, yeah, so that was another sort of a passion of mine as well, was drawing when I was young.
Are those your drawings behind you?
No, they're not actually. No, they're other people's artwork. Yeah, so I got distracted by doing the drawings for my novel when I was 10 years old. But yes, so then the next thing I wrote after that, other than schoolwork, was when I started doing creative writing classes when I was about 25, 26. Mm-hmm. I just did, I used to go on a Monday night for 2 hours and sit in an adult education college. And he'd set us a little piece of homework every week. So that was the next time I wrote anything.
Did you write suspense then?
No, so he'd set us, write a piece of describe a room, write a piece of dialogue, that sort of thing. So I'd go home and do my homework and then bring it in the next week and put my hand up when he said, "Does anybody want to read the thing?" Yes.
It's so wonderful that you did that. And then when was the moment that you thought, I think I can write a novel that will work?
I think it was around the time of writing those little pieces and doing that course, because a couple of people said to me, "You should try writing a book. You've got a really commercial style." Which sort of, kind of set a little ball rolling in my head of like, oh, maybe. I'd kind of always thought it would be something I might do, but I would do it when I was 50, not when I was 25. So it kind of made me start thinking about doing it a little earlier. Maybe I could do it now and not wait until I'm middle-aged. So yes, I'm glad I didn't wait, because I'd have just written my first novel by now, and that would have been a shame. So
well, I didn't start writing till I was 55. And so, but I do think we write when the time comes for us to write. I mean, I couldn't have done it any earlier. I was a reporter.
Yes.
That wasn't my time to do it. So we are so happy that I love when your friend said you have a really commercial style. And did anyone ever think that it would turn into 19 and counting New York Times best-selling novels? That is sort of as commercially wonderful, fabulous as it can possibly.
That's pretty commercial, isn't it?
In the best of all possible, in the best of ways. Let me ask if anybody has any questions. If Karen or Margaret will put the questions. That's for me. How are you? Well, both. How do you celebrate a book birthday, Lisa? Do you take time to mark those events in a special way?
Well, yes, my publishers, because I live in the same city as my publishers, which is nice. I get taken out for dinner usually. And yeah, so this year I got taken out for a beautiful dinner on the banks of the River Thames, and we drank champagne and it was glorious. So yes, that's what I normally do. How about you? What are you doing tonight?
I think I'll just go. I think, taking your advice, I will go sit in our garden and drink champagne.
Yes.
I will toast to you for that advice. Thank you. I think that is a very good idea.
It's the correct thing to do. Yes.
I know you're right. Usually I just worry Usually what I do
Oh,
all the time is worry about what I
yeah.
should be doing and should have done. But I do think it's incredibly important, especially now, to take some time to celebrate and say, I did this and you did this, and this is
Yes.
beloved, and people are reading this and they're loving it, and it's all good. Do we
Yes,
have time for
exactly.
another question? I know you don't plot, so is it interesting to go back later and see themes in the manuscript? Such a good question. How do you deal with that, Lisa?
Yeah, I do. I find it fascinating. Not just going back, but also having conversations like this and people sort of showing me their perspective on what they've just read and showing me things I hadn't really, I mean, like you earlier saying about Alice in Wonderland and the fairy tale aspect
Oh,
of Sophie being told don't go into the dark woods, but going into the dark woods anyway, and yeah, and things like that. I find it endlessly fascinating, but also going back and seeing, you know, where I made those decisions and how it informed the plot. And yes, no, I think that's part of the joy of having not outlined outlined one's book before one writes it, is that one can go back and see it with this, yeah, this sort of wonder and awe of like, wow, where did that come from?
I know one of my books I sent into my editor and she wrote, "This is such a wonderful book about redemption." And I said, "Yes, sure,
Yeah,
redemption. Totally, that's what I meant
yes,
from
yep,
moment one."
yes.
I read a wonderful interview with David McCullough once, the historian, who was asked, "Mr. McCullough, do you have a theme for every book that you write?" And he said, "Yes, I do. And I write the book to find out what it is." Isn't that so perfect?
That is absolutely perfect. Spot
Exactly.
on. Yes.
And Carol is asking, "Oh, how do you decide how dark?"
Oh,
Anissa comes with the question, "How do you decide
yeah.
you will? Is it you will allow a book to be?"
Yes. Well, no, that's exactly right. Yes, indeed. Um, yeah, I pretty much go into a book prepared to go as dark as necessary, but sometimes the book just doesn't take me into those really dark places. And there have been some people who've read the prologue to this book. There's a little chunk at the beginning of this book about arachnophobia, and someone being stuck in the dark with spiders. And I think that might have, so for the readers who like it as dark as they possibly can get it, they were all sort of geared up thinking they were going to be getting something really gothic. And but then the story didn't take me there. I'd allowed myself the possibility. It could have happened. But when it actually came down to those scenes and those pivotal moments, just didn't get there. But it wasn't because I wouldn't allow myself to, just the story didn't take me there.
Well, I think it's not that they're not dark, it's that they're internally dark. They're not, it's, I mean, it is in a dark place, but it's internally dark, and the person is terrified, and you feel that so deeply. And the spider
Yes.
theme is brought back in that.
Yes.
My phone will not leave us alone. I am so, this is clearly a movie agent calling right now.
Yes, it is right now.
I'm
Exactly.
just not going to answer. I'm talking to Lisa Jewell. Forget about it. So, and I do think that one of the things that I love about the way you tell a story is that it reveals the plot, and then at some moment the dominoes again tip over, and you're so deeply internally into someone's head with a long
Yes.
sentence and a deep description and so much internal thought, and you're just swept away by this character's thought process, and then
Yes.
you're back to the story. And I
Yes.
love that rhythm, that Lisa Jewell rhythm of the story.
Yeah, and I'm aware of that when it's
Oh,
happening, and I love it when it happens because it just means that the if I need to do that, then the reader probably needs to do that. The reader probably needs to spend some time in the character's head and really delve into how they're feeling at that precise moment, or what the personal crisis they're having, or if they're scared. Yeah, so when those little insights happen, I jump on them to think, okay, yeah, ready for
and
this.
they come out quickly, I bet, when you're writing them, because it
Yes.
really is so authentic.
Yes, no, they come out very quickly, and like you say, they're often really long sentences. I hate to use this pretentious terminology, but stream of consciousness.
No, but it
Yeah,
works. It works. It
yeah,
works. It's
yeah,
really evocative and
yeah,
really connecting, and and often very endearing and always revealing. So much fun to read The Night She Disappeared, as it is to read all of your wonderful books, Lisa. We are
Oh,
so honored that you are here on A Mighty Mystery today. Congratulations on this fantastic book. And we will post a winner if we haven't already. And I missed it. Diane.
hey, Diane, congratulations.
And I will take care of getting you this book. Diane, I'm not giving you this one. I'm going to keep this one. But you'll have your own pristine, lovely copy. Lisa, thank you so much for being here tonight. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Hank. I think that was possibly one of my favorite interviews of all time. You're amazing. Your insight into everything is incredibly deep and very, very welcome. Thank you very much, and happy publication day to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will see you all next time. Love to have you here all on A Mighty Mystery. And we will see you next Tuesday. Oh, let me show you who we have. Next Tuesday at 4:00, we have Wiley Cash.
Oh,
When Ghosts Come Home. Do you know this, Lisa? It's a really gut-wrenching.
He interviewed me last week and he was wonderful. I loved him. So I must read his book.
We will tell him you said hi.
Yeah. Yes. Tell him I said hi.
To start this, When Ghosts Come Home. Someone said for me to bring tissues, so I will indeed do that.
Oh, Wiley. Anissa says, oh, Wiley. I know what you mean, Anissa.
And Marjorie is saying she's not going to wait until this is translated into Finnish to read it. So that is the ultimate.
Wow.
For Lisa Jewell and The Night She Disappeared. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. And we will see you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET. Until then, keep reading.
Bye.